And we are back on the build phase. I'm Mr. Ben, and today we are going to talk about a new Upper Deck featured format, and this format is super. But first, I want to say thank you to all of the patrons of the show at patreon.com/thebuildphase. You too can support what we're doing here. Special thanks to Brad, Jason, Justin, Patrick, and Peter, as well as all of our patrons who keep the lights on. If you like what we're doing, patreon.com/thebuildphase. Join the coolest clubhouse in Versus. Okay, so the featured format, number 23, super powers. I feel like a duper could have been thrown in there. Given how silly SAG is, how often they make just corny jokes, I feel like super powers is the name. Like, missed opportunity, guys. Super powers. Okay, spring featured format is here, and it is super powerful. It's full of superpowers. We're cracking the possibilities wide open and giving everyone some extra resources to try out new superpowers. Whether you want to use your favorite character, or is there a card you've been wanting to play, this is your chance to play in something new. But not the Lilins. Okay, let's jump into the details. So this started April Fool's Day. It's going to run through June 1st. Oh my gosh. So this runs April 1st, 2024 through June 3 STH. June 3rd. I think that was supposed to be 31st, maybe. 2024. Deck building rules. Your main characters must have at least one superpower on each of its levels. Each supporting character, equipment, and special location, other than wilds, in your deck and piles must have at least one superpower. Your deck and piles may include basic locations. Your deck and piles may include any wild special location that share a team affiliation with your main character or a supporting character in your deck. Wait, did they change this? Special gameplay rule. Okay, hold on. I think they might have changed this since I first read it. So when I first read this, it said something to the effect of your deck is able to include locations that have superpowers. We don't actually have any of those. We do have locations that use a power symbol, like you have to turn a location face down to pay for them, but they aren't technically superpowers, and they are explicitly stated as not being superpowers. So our initial reading was, oh, maybe they mean this cycle of locations, or alternatively, maybe we are going to get some new locations that actually have superpowers. But it appears that that entire text has been deleted from the post. There's even like an extra space here where I think that line of text was when it. So, okay, I guess that answers our question there. So you get supporting characters that have superpowers, which means old standbys like Iceman, Jessica Jones, to a lesser degree, like a 7-drop like Ares. These cards that are Kane, these cards that are really good because of the keywords on them, they're unplayable. That's really neat. I like that because there's a lot of staples that are staples because they don't require you to pair them with a power symbol. They are good by themselves because of the keywords. That's why keywords are good. So that's a really interesting challenge. Requiring main characters to have superpowers on both levels. This is a lot of main characters, not all, but like probably I'm safe saying the majority of main characters have superpowers on both of their levels. So cool. There's for sure some, like Rogue is an example that comes to mind, that don't. So this will knock out some classically strong heroes. This doesn't knock out the new Lilith main character, but it does knock out every single one of the Lilins. So that sounded a little drunk when I said that there. Every single one of the Lilins. So that does make it so the newest set isn't playable in this format. That's a little disappointing. Generally, I think of the featured formats as kind of pushing us towards wanting to play the new cards, and unfortunately that's not the case here, but it is what it is. So let's get on to the special gameplay rule. Each player brings 6 basic locations, one for each power symbol. Now, if you're going, wait, 6, there's only 4, you're forgetting Earth and Space. Those are the last 2. So yellow, red, green, blue, Earth, and Space. They are not part of your deck and do not affect your deck building rules in any way. So you can have 4 copies of a basic intellect location in your deck and still have this 5th copy off to the side. During the game, as a character on your side uses a superpower, you may turn exactly one of those cards face down to generate that power symbol for that superpower. This is awesome. This is awesome. I think this is really, really cool. There are going to be main characters that just lose games because you have to draw 4 of 60, like the new Juggernaut or whatever. Now you have, well, I guess I don't remember what his level up condition is. His might have to appear. So that might not actually help him. Maybe that's a bad example. But the point is, there are plenty of characters that part of the calculus as to why they haven't made decks. This isn't just main characters, supporting characters as well. Like, I historically frown pretty heavily upon any one drop that has a superpower. Because, well, notable exception, Charlie 27. But the thing on that card that makes him playable as a one drop with a superpower is the 3 health. So you don't have to line up a turn one power with the one drop and have all that. It's not a turn one combo that you need these 2 cards for. If he gets stunned on turn one, who cares? You can draw his thing on turn two. So his stickiness to the board is what makes Charlie 27, in my opinion, a kind of exception to the superpowers on one drops generally aren't good rule. This gets around that. So there's a lot of supporting characters that I probably wouldn't put in my deck. Like, well, this card is crap if you don't also draw the combo piece. And I don't necessarily want my entire curve to be combo pieces. So I really like this. I think this is going to open up playability. Well, in theory, this is going to open up playability with main characters and supporting characters that might not have otherwise seen play, as well as color combinations within your deck. You know, most decks don't run the rainbow, but now here you could run a one-off 7-drop that uses an earth or a blue that your deck isn't using, and you're guaranteed to at least get one activation from that character because of this power symbol pile that you're giving. That is awesome. I like that a whole lot. Now, it's also worth noting this is one resource you need for Maximus, one of the most popular main characters. There are main characters that are going to play very well with like a Pixie Maximus combo. You've already got your blues for Pixie that you need. You've already like that deck is already starting to look a little bit gross, but that's just every format in Versus. So I have, for a lot of my time playing this game, kind of focused at the top end of competitive decks. And while I do play kind of casually kitchen table Versus and have fun with it there, I have not always given myself the permission to explore competitive formats outside of like the tip of the spear. And this is a format that I think I just want to build. I just want to build decks in this powers. I feel like the power symbol pile is something that could go forward in the game. So even if we have a format that doesn't require all the main characters and supporting characters to have superpowers, like this doesn't have to be superpowers format, but we could say, hey, this is Incursion, and for this event, we're going to allow a power symbol pile. I'm really curious what the impact of having these 6 free ability activations is going to have on deck consistency, deck building. Do you build your deck to throw in these one-off characters that can take advantage of these cards that you're not going to put in your deck? How many do you put in? Do I want to have 3 of these? Like, there's so many interesting questions with this format. I know there's been a lot of criticism thrown at Upper Deck recently for poor communication, total lack of communication in some cases. And I think that's valid. And we should, to some degree, expect Upper Deck to follow through with maintaining this game. We're all invested in this game. I don't think it costs them much of anything to post some of this stuff on the blog. So I think that's all valid. I'm not backtracking or stepping away from some of those critiques that we have had recently. But the way the game is marketed and the way Upper Deck handles communication are kind of separate issues than the game itself. The actual gameplay of Versus is, I think, in a pretty healthy spot. Yes, there are some ridiculously toxic things in this game. The zombie virus is ridiculous. For years, we dealt with Dark Phoenix. We've had the Maximus Pixie combo. The game started with old Thanos. So I think I've reached the point now where I am no longer sort of like railing against like this game is just a game that has outlying power spikes. Sometimes that does make the game less fun to play. I think we can all admit that walking into a room full of Outriders is a little bit less fun than other types of rooms you could walk into. Like you walk into a room full of rogues, that might not be as much fun as some other main characters that you could walk into. And I think observing that is valid, and I think we should keep an eye on it. But the fact is, the game is what it is at this point, and it is unlikely that there's going to be sort of a change in philosophy as far as like how Upper Deck handles game balance and outline powerful cards. Like this is just a game where we're going to have some really spiky stuff all the time. And I don't mean spiky as in try hard to win, but I mean like power spiky stuff. That's just baked in. This is a higher variance card game than some other card games. And some of that I really love. Sometimes it drives me crazy. But overall, I'm very, very happy to keep playing Versus. And man, this is a banger of a format. I know not everybody's going to like this format. It is really weird that we just got this Children of Lilith box and it's unplayable in the announced format. That's a strange choice. But and the deck building rules, I kind of don't really care. I mean, I do care because I think they're trying something new and it's interesting and it's going to force a lot of staples out of your decks. That's all cool. That's all interesting. But when I compare the amount of care that I have for the deck building rules compared to the special gameplay rule, these things are not comparable. I think the special gameplay rule, the power symbol pile, that is something I want to remove off of, cut apart from this specific format and have that as a tool in the tool belt going forward, as something that we can tack on to whatever other format. Hey, we're going to do a draft format. We're going to do Return to New York City. We're Big Apple battles. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Incursion, multiverse, whatever the format is, you can take this power symbol pile mechanic and tack that on top of it. And it creates so many interesting questions. Now, it could be once we get into this and we start actually exploring it, that there are just clear right answers to these questions. Like, oh, a one-off space location. This is the best value you can get out of that. So you always play this character. That could be the case. It could be that this is too strong and maybe makes the game a little bit less fun because it becomes rock, paper, scissors, since we both have these gross things in our deck that the power symbol pile is enabling, kind of in cases where we probably shouldn't be able to do it. Like it's enabling these power level spikes that it could make the game. Well, if I get lucky enough to draw into my thing before you draw your thing, I win. And if the reverse is the case, you win. And there's not a lot of skill testing going on. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think it's going to be that clear. But knowing the history of Versus, a lot of our metas do kind of devolve into a couple of like serious decks and then everything else a step below that. Um, I I don't know. I'm really optimistic about this mechanic. I think this mechanic is super exciting. I think this format is a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to the next regional to see how this all plays out. And more than that, I'm looking forward to taking this special gameplay rule and seeing this bolted onto some other formats and how that affects this wonderful, weird game of Versus that we have been following for, gosh, almost a decade now. We're getting on top of 9 years. I think it'll be 9 years in August that Versus 2PCG has existed, and it's been a wonderful ride. I am thrilled to be here, and this format. This is maybe the most excited I've been for a format in a long time. I think this format is freaking cool. All right, this has been the Build Phase. I'm Mr. Ben, and you should go win some games.